Good morning, everybody. You know, I've got a few minutes here, and I just so happen to have this list of anonymous comments that I took from my local newspaper's mail call feature, and I was just going to read them and make fun of them. Would you like to watch? Really? You would? Oh, that's great. Well, hey, I'll tell you what, when I get through with this, we'll all go out for ice cream. I mean, I know it's early, but, it's not going to hurt you. And I'll tell you what, we won't mention anything about it to your mom, okay? The following calls are taken from editions of Mail Call printed in the Herald-Mail from August 5th to August 16th, 2013, which can be read online in their entirety at www.herald-mail.com. First up from Hagerstown. The bankruptcy of the city of Detroit, Michigan should be an eye-opener, particularly to the state of Maryland and the many municipalities connected to the state of Maryland. Why should a dedicated public servant, such as a firefighter, a police officer, a school teacher, and those who put their life on the line every day, lose their pension because of debt? Think about it, taxpayers. Oh, boo-hoo, the teachers and the cops are losing their pensions. Yeah, I don't see why everybody is so upset. I thought that government employees were just leeches who contributed nothing to society while sucking down our tax dollars. Or has it become politically expedient to take up for them again? I'm watching the old Manchurian Candidate. My God, I know where the Tea Party has got their sound bites from. They watched this movie over and over again. Angela Lansbury and James Gregory sound exactly, word for word, all the stuff they spieled in this movie, what the Tea Party says today. They must watch this movie over and over again to get it down. That's scary. Hagerstown. It's not just that movie. The rhetoric from right-wing anti-government types hasn't changed much in the last 50 years, if not even longer. It's odd, isn't it? No matter how much our society changes, the far right's solution to our problems, whatever they may be, is always the same. Less government. One of the main reasons why conservatism feels untethered from reality to lefties like me is because it's a field that never advances. Like theology. I bet I really get some comments out of this one from some of you people, but anyway, I have seen some very, very nice-looking people, men and women, who, for whatever reason it is, get tattoos smeared all over their body, up their arms, down their legs. Some of them have them completely over their body, and what I'd like to know is, what are they trying to prove by making themselves ugly? I hear so many comments from people about these tattoos and how absolutely terrible they look on people. So why would a nice-looking person want to do that to themselves? What is their point? Sharpsburg. Maybe their point is that your standard of beauty isn't important to them. Maybe their point is that they would rather be a person who openly expresses their true self and what they like and what they feel, rather than someone who tries to conform to a mainstream ideal. Maybe their point is that they just wanted to get some fucking sweet tattoos. I mean, look, I'm not much of a tattoo person either. I don't have one. I can't imagine why I would ever get one. But for me to expect other people to defer to my taste when deciding how they look, I would have to be an outrageously presumptuous asshole. And from the sound of it, Sharpsburg's already got one of those. As a U.S. citizen my whole life, I can't understand why, when there comes up a question about voting laws, which we should have tighter voting laws, I can't understand why the word discrimination comes into the discussion. I know people, I worked with people, I went to school with people of different national origins. They are American citizens, they voted over the years, no problem. So that's my main question. What's discrimination got to do with whether you're legally allowed to vote in the U.S. at any one of the different states that we live in? Hagerstown. Stricter voting laws usually means requiring people to show ID before they can vote. Most people who don't have ID are poor or members of racial minorities. Now, you might say, well, that's just the price that must be paid for preventing the problem of voter fraud. But voter fraud isn't really a problem. It almost never happens. The number of legitimate voters who would be disenfranchised by a voter ID law is almost always far, far, far more than the number of fraudulent voters who would be thwarted by such a law. And this isn't a secret. Most of the people proposing these stricter voting laws are well aware of the probable impact they will have on the ability of poor Americans and members of racial minorities to exercise their right to vote. And yet they continue to propose this legislation, insisting that their only motivation is to address the virtually non-existent problem of voter fraud. That is why those of us who oppose such laws often describe them as discriminatory. And now you know. On Friday afternoon, July 26, we were driving on West Wilson Boulevard. A small black and white dog was evidently hit by a car. It was trying to cross the road. The dog seemed to be injured badly in his hind quarter area. I would just like to know how the dog is. Please call in and give an update. Morgansville. Yeah, just call in and give an update. Someone. Hey, while we're at it, about 7 or 8 years ago, I was driving through Funkstown and the car in front of me ran over a squirrel and it was still moving as I drove past. I was wondering if somebody could call in, maybe let me know what happened to that squirrel, if you know, because I'm suddenly very, very, very concerned about it. I would really like to know. You know, it's all well and good to soothe your conscience by pretending to give a shit about that dog now when you don't actually have to do anything. This is regarding your story about the Pope, Pope Francis, and his need maybe to be the apologist for the homosexual issues. I'm a former Catholic, a Christian. Maybe he found stronger blocks of these sexual rings at the highest levels in the Vatican than he thought he would, and can't really deal with it. It's no surprise. Clean house, Pope. Send a message. Herald-Mail, don't give this story a whitewash. Washington County. The Pope said something humane about gay people. What's he trying to hide? This caller's homophobia aside, I do understand the impulse to question the motives of the Pope. I mean, after all, most of us non-Catholics have just sort of assumed that the Pope, whoever he is evil. So when he expresses tolerance and compassion and decency, the alarm bells do sound. As for the Herald-Mail not whitewashing this story, I think expecting the Herald-Mail to do anything more than reprint stuff it gets from a wire service is asking a bit too much. Hagerstown is the original build it and they will come black hole. We are told every time a new boondoggle is proposed that it will rejuvenate downtown. But after 2 universities, a new library, the Discovery Station, the Barbara Ingram School, and numerous other projects, downtown is worse than ever. Now the same good old boys who always seem to make out financially want us to build a new stadium and are once again tying it to the salvation of downtown. The only thing a new stadium would rejuvenate is the bank accounts of a few developers and property owners. Williamsport. The new library isn't even open yet, so I'm not sure how you can declare it a boondoggle. And those other projects you mentioned were more about renovating existing buildings downtown rather than making epic build it and they will come projects to draw tourists and businesses back to Hagerstown. And look, dude, if the people of Hagerstown want to rejuvenate their downtown district, they're going to have to do something. And if you think that the university and the Arts High and the new library and this proposed stadium aren't it, then what would you suggest instead? Because they already tried doing nothing, and it hasn't really worked. I read recently in Mail Call, somebody from Hagerstown wrote they saw George Carlin at the Maryland Theater 10 years ago, and that was quality entertainment. Boy, if George Carlin is quality entertainment, that tells you something about the writer, or the caller. Hagerstown. Yes, it says the caller was fortunate to see a live performance by one of the most universally celebrated and influential stand-up comics to ever step onto a stage. You know, Carlin actually passed through Hagerstown a few times in the late 1990s and early 2000s, and I was very, very lucky that I got to see him one of those times. And it was great, especially looking back. It's so wonderful to remember that I got to see George Carlin perform live. I also went to see Gallagher when he played the Maryland Theater some years ago. And I don't know, personally, I preferred Carlin, but maybe the angry guy smashing shit with a giant hammer is more your speed. I'd like to know if the U.S. still has a vice president, and if we do, where is he? Hagerstown. What is it that you're expecting him to do that he isn't doing exactly? You do realize we're talking about the vice president. his duties consist of attending funerals and breaking ties in the Senate. And if he doesn't have to do either one of those, I assume he's sitting in his den at number one Observatory Circle playing Xbox or jerking off or something. I mean, what the fuck do I care where he is? And finally, from Hagerstown, there is nothing wrong with breastfeeding, but there is the right way. Cover your breasts. That's called a lady. And don't forget to train the baby to go like that. It's never too early to teach proper manners, after all, and where I come from, it's pinky up when ladies and gentlemen are sucking on a titty. I lied, by the way, we're not going for ice cream. Thanks for watching.